Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I recently picked up the Fawn Stitched Leaves dies because I thought they were so cool looking and perfect for fall cards. So I die cut those out of some Tim Holtz watercolor cardstock, and I'm coloring these in with the Gansai Tambi watercolors. I'm just using a variety of the colors that come in this set. I'm using like the darker orange color and the yellow, green, brown, red. You kind of see how I'm working with those. I have a cup of water off to the side and I am just coloring these leaves. You can see that I got a little too much watercolor on one of the leaves, so I'm just adding it to some of the other colors. And then I'll go ahead and pick up my next color. And if they're not quite blending well, just add some more water to it and then you'll really see the colors blend together. And I think these are just gorgeous. Can't wait to show you the end of the card because they just look awesome on the card. And then I'm adding little bits of orange, the lighter orange, since I used kind of that darker orangish red color. And you could do these however you want. Use all the brighter colors. I pulled in some of the browns and greens since that's what color leaves are. They don't always look perfect. You can see I added a little bit of brown to that one. And you can just add tons of this watercolor and different color combinations on them all. So you can see how I even had a little bit of watercolor left on my brush, but when I added some more water to it, it blended and you got that little bit of yellow on there. And you could layer the colors too, so you could let these dry and then add some more on top of it. I just like kind of that blended look. And remember, if they're blending and you don't like the color, like this one, it kind of turned a weird brownish green color. I just took my cloth and picked up some of the watercolor to take it off from there, and then I can add different color right over the top of it. So I just added a little bit of that orange, and then it made the gross color disappear right behind it. So I'm just going to keep on blending these colors together to create different leaves, and I want them all to look different. I also did use a couple of these twice, so you don't get all of these in one die set, but the sheet that I cut them out from, it created this really cool like negative look, so I used that on a different card and I'll share that in a few days. But just remember, you can also use the negatives from your dies as well as the actual die itself. So I'm just adding a little bit of green to one of these leaves, since sometimes the leaves are still a little bit green when they fall off the tree. And I'm just blending that with the yellow and the brown. I like to kind of create with the colors that blend together too. So like oranges and reds and yellows blend really well together, and then greens and yellows blend together. So you just want to make note when you are combining some of them that some of the colors probably don't blend as well together as others. And that's what creates those muddy looks to them. But like I said, they're really easy this watercolor is really easy to work with, so it's really easy to pick up that color. And you could use many different watercolors. You could use watercolor pencils, you can use distress inks with these, you could use the Peerless watercolors, you could even use the Crayola watercolors that you can pick up at any store in the kids art section. So it's just kind of fun to play around and mix all of these colors together. And the supplies I am using on this card will be linked below if you're interested in any of them, especially this die set because it's so perfect for fall, and it's just, I love the stitching on them. Alright, so then once I get the colors on here, I'm also going to add a little bit of metallic shimmer. So I'm using the bronze. You can't really see it because it's down below on that palette. But I am using this bronze, and I added plenty of water to it within the palette itself. And I'm just creating like a wash over each of these colors. You just want to make sure when you're doing this that if you get too much, it can cover up some of your color. So like here I'm adding a little bit more of that red because otherwise it turned to gold. So to create more of a wash, you want a lot more water on your brush than the actual watercolor. But once these are dry, it does have that metallic look to it, and it's super, super pretty in person. It's really hard to pick that up on the camera. I wish I could, but you just have to take my word for it. And once I finished adding the metallic to these, I dried them with my heat tool. You can let them air dry, but I'm just impatient and I wanted to move on with my card. So I'm taking a piece of white cardstock and I'm just adding a little bit more of this gold or bronze metallic. So I added some water to it, and then I'm just taking my paintbrush and flicking these little dots on there. And then I made sure that those were dry as well. And I'm going to mat this on a piece of black cardstock. You can see I cut that thanks die out of the back since it's going to be covered up anyway. It's kind of a way to save some of your cardstock. So I'm just going to adhere that on there, and you don't see it at all, so it works perfectly because that thanks is what I'm going to use as the greeting on my card. And then I'm just going to adhere this piece down to a white A2 size card base. Alright, so next up is the fun part. We get to adhere all of these gorgeous leaves onto the card. I'm taking some of the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish and just adding that to the back of the leaves. I'm just squirting little bits on there. And then I'm going to arrange them so the biggest one is going to be in the center, and then they're going to go smaller to each side out. And this glue, it sticks really well, but you just need to give it a little bit of time to dry, so the pieces might be sticking up a little bit. But what I do is I take my Cuttlebug plates and I set them on top for a few minutes, like 10-15 minutes, just to make sure that it's set, and then it gives it a little bit of time to dry just so that they don't pop up on the card. But otherwise, this adhesive is a really strong adhesive and it holds these leaves and other embellishments really well. So I'm also going to adhere the sentiment with the same multi-matte medium right over the top of it. I was going to try to pop it up a little bit, but I figured it would be the same trying to adhere it down with like 3D foam squares over those leaves as it would be just to adhere it straight down. To create that 3D look, you could also cut a whole bunch of the sentiments out and then glue them on top of each other. But again, it'd be the same thing, just trying to adhere that down. So I just did it flat. I added some dots of my adhesive, and then I'm just going to place it on top of the leaves. And then, like I said, I'll just take my cutting plates and set them on top, and then just let that dry for a few minutes. So then I'm going to go over that sentiment with the gold embellishment, the Irresistible. I'm just going to cover the sentiment completely. I like this Irresistible because it has this really fine tip, so it's easy to get into those smaller places. And it has this gold shimmer, so it matches those leaves. It's kind of like, if you haven't used it before, it's like Glossy Accents and Wink of Stella combined into one. The only thing is, it's a little bit more liquidy. So you just want to make sure that you're not adding too much, otherwise it might run onto the rest of your project. And of course you want to make sure that it's completely dried before you send this in the mail or give it away to somebody. And you could also leave the sentiment black. The cool thing about this is it kind of has that black outline still, so it matches the black border around it, and then it's not so, there's not so much of a contrast against it with the leaves, so it kind of blends in a little bit better. And then it also has that 3D look since it has the liquid on top of it. Alright, and then that is my finished card for today. So hopefully you enjoyed this watercolor tutorial on how to create that leaf look on your die cuts. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you catch all of my latest videos, and I will see you guys back here next time. Bye!